My name is George Petrides. I'm here in the home that I grew up in from age 14 with my mother, and it's outside of Athens. I'm here today to talk to you about a family story of 4 generations which started more than 100 years ago. You'll learn about my grandmother who left Asia Minor as a refugee. You'll learn about my mother and my father who grew up in Athens, and they experienced the Second World War, they experienced the Greek Civil War, and the conditions that were horrific. You'll learn about my own experience processing that trauma, which I inherited. And the 4th generation will be my daughter, who we've all worked hard to put these experiences behind us so she can have an easier life and a lighter life.
My creative process is a loop between the physical and the digital, blending the ancient craft of hand sculpting with the precision of modern technology. I begin with a clay maquette, often working from live models or historical photographs or my own image. While the clay is still fresh, I 3D scan it, creating a detailed digital mesh that I can then refine in sculpting software, adjusting proportions, symmetry, and scale, oftentimes many larger than life size. From there, the file is translated back into the physical world. It is 3D printed or CNC milled, which I assemble and rework entirely by hand with traditional sculpting tools. Once the form is complete, it is often cast at a foundry, often in bronze using the lost wax method, the same technique used by the ancient Greeks. While the large version is being cast at the foundry in bronze, I'm back in the studio doing color tests using the various maquettes that I had made up earlier to explore different designs.
My mother came to Greece as a refugee from Smyrna. And I grew up in the 1940s through occupation, civil war, and hunger. Those years shaped how I formed my own family. My husband and myself tried to give my child a more secure life, even as the vigilance of that time stayed with us. My mother Maria fled burning Smyrna in 1922 during the Asia Minor catastrophe. She left a prosperous home, for a country that was not always welcoming. She raised a large family but spoke little of what she had seen. Those events were always present in her, even when they were not put into words.
I drew from the experiences of these 5 individuals to create 5 public sculptures. 2 large monumental sculptures are here in Athens. One work, especially close to my heart, is Refugee, Woman of Smyrna, inspired by my grandmother Maria. To capture this moment of displacement, I look to Michelangelo's unfinished Rondanini Pietà as my sculptural precedent. I wanted that same rough surface and raw emotion. I try to convey shock and grief without theatrics, a quiet gaze, pain carried with dignity. The final sculpture, almost 9 feet high in its base, stands today in Neopsychiko, Athens, and was unveiled exactly 100 years after Smyrna's destruction. Iratea, nicknamed Big Mom in English, was created for Athens' first university hospital. I was inspired by my own mother and themes of healing, motherhood, and resilience. For this project, when I came to 3D print the body, I used recycled plastic sourced from medical packaging waste. After creating the form substantially over life size, I reworked it by hand. Its gold-toned surface nods to the ancient tradition of the Greeks of gilding statues of gods in gold. In Athens, it is positioned across from the statue of the Greek statesman Venizelos, where it enters into a dialogue. The father of the nation and the mother of its people, striding optimistically towards the future.
I grew up in the hungry 1940s in Greece. When I look at Iratea, I see myself gathered into one image. It reminds me that I bridged 2 worlds, the generation that lost its home and the one trying to build something secure. My husband Christos also grew up in the hard years of the 40s. Later he became a sea captain, responsible for ship and crew. Those early hardships convinced him that life required vigilance, discipline, and clear decisions, and he tried to give our family directions based on those convictions.
This large bust was commissioned by a prominent church in Southampton, New York. Already on the grounds was a large cross forged from the World Trade Center steel. I was inspired to create a sculpture that referred to the historic moment in 312 AD when the Emperor Constantine is said to have had a vision of a cross which proved pivotal to his empire as well as the establishment of Christianity. For research, I visited colossal Roman heads of Constantine in Rome and New York. Looking to my family, I drew for my father, aged about 40, as a sea captain of transatlantic passenger ships, conveying his leadership and clear vision. This chapter deals with my own history, the external war of building a life across 2 countries and 2 careers and even 2 marriages, and the internal war to confront inherited psychological patterns. As a precedent, I chose Pierre de Visson from Rodin's Burghers of Calais, a figure walking towards his fate with dignity. My self-portrait, Man of 2 Wars, captures that moment of that struggle. Making it was, in itself, a vital part of my healing. Only well after these sculptures were finished and they were traveling around the world did I see how vigilance and emotional control can pass from war survivors to their children who never lived those events. By giving my family's story a concrete form, I can name these patterns instead of unconsciously repeating them. I now invite my students, to whom I teach sculpture and painting, to look at their own histories in a similar way. When I start working on a sculpture, I do historical research, which includes finding precedent sculptures to inspire me. In this case, I went to an important museum named the Acropolis Museum in Athens, where I was born, and I found votive statues of young women, including this one, Gore 684. I always sketch these rather than take photographs because sketching forces me to look at each detail of the sculpture. All of us in my family have worked hard to give my daughter Sophia a foundation where she knows our story, but is not asked to carry its unresolved pain. Figures of vitality and grace. My sculpture, Corey, captures her expression of intelligence, optimism, and a slight smile. The version you see here is displayed in Paris, however, other copies have been placed at the United Nations and at a cancer clinic for children. There, she offers a quiet image of hope, proof that the work of earlier generation has given the next generation room to breathe.